So I've been out of town this week for work and got something in the mail while I was gone that I want to share with you guys. Canon Powershot G7X Mark II. So let's get to unboxing. Let's go to Chicago and try this camera out. All right, we are here in sunny and not that cold Chicago. I'm talking on the camera microphone right now, so hopefully you can hear me. There's a little bit of wind going right now, and I'm really enjoying having this flip-up screen where I can see myself and frame the shot. The image stabilization, just looking at the picture, seems to be working pretty well. The camera also has a built-in ND, or neutral density filter, that allows you to shoot at a shutter speed more friendly to video. Say if you're shooting at 24 frames a second, double your shutter speed at about 1/50th of a second, and then have a higher aperture, but you're still able to shoot in bright light and not overexpose a lot of stuff. So it's really nice to have that built in and not have to carry extra filters with you, which obviously you couldn't really do with a camera this size. So I'm on my way out to one of the best places to shoot the Chicago skyline, out on the tip by the Adler Planetarium. It'll be a great place to see all the detail that this camera can or can't pick up. So you might be wondering, why would I change from using an iPhone, like an iPhone 10 or an iPhone 7 Plus that I've been using to shoot some of these camera shots, to something like this? And I think there are two key reasons. One is simple physics. This is a bigger sensor, it's a bigger lens, that allows you to get a better picture. Also, the flip-up screen is really nice to be able to see myself. Just as phone cameras have gotten so much better, this size camera has gotten better. Obviously there's kind of a low end of these point and shoots that is really not worth your money, but if you're willing to invest, say, $600 in something like this, or go up to a higher end one like a Sony RX100 for $1,000, you're gonna get a really good picture quality. All right, so we're back now in downtown Chicago, and I'm gonna just take this camera for a test drive, get a bunch of photos, and see what they turn out like. Alright, so I'm headed back home, just got off the train after coming back from Chicago. I'm also really impressed right now. It's dusk. I mean, the sun is almost entirely set, and this video right now, with some low light, is looking really good. You can still see me just fine. The size of the camera is really nice to have small. It is a little harder to grip that way. They've put some nice grips on the camera, but it's still, there are times when I was over a balcony or near the edge of a bridge, and I felt like I was about to drop this thing. And I'm really glad that it did not end up in the Chicago River. So let's go back to the studio and we'll take another closer look at the camera. So I think the biggest thing that I missed about this camera while I was out shooting was the optical viewfinder. I love having that in some bigger cameras. You just get the screen. That said, the screen is pretty easy to see in sunlight. It's definitely not as good as an optical viewfinder, but for the back of a camera LCD, the visibility in the sunlight is, I'd say, very good overall. But in general, despite the lack of optical viewfinder, it doesn't feel like your grandma's Canon Powershot from 2006. It really feels like a pro level camera. You have just really nice controls around the sides and all the dials and everything. It all looks very slick and professional, and it doesn't feel like you're using a consumer camera. The exposure ring around the sort of around the mode dial, I didn't have any issues with this, but where it's placed, it feels to me like something that you'll accidentally hit and then realize after a bunch of shots that you were at +3 exposure adjustment or something, and then be disappointed and have been overcompensating in other settings in your camera because you didn't notice you'd hit that dial. But it is an interesting idea for Canon to make that so accessible. I could see it coming in handy. Speaking of exposure ISO, I would say that anything below 3200 is usable. Above 3200 you start to get a decent amount of noise, but I mean it'll still give you the shot. The upper limit though is ISO 12,800, which is a great range for a camera this small, down to ISO 125 is the lowest. For bursts, the camera can shoot up to 8 frames a second of 20.1 megapixel bursts. That's its maximum resolution. The camera also has a max shutter speed of 1/2000th of a second, and it has the classic AV and TV modes, like a lot of Canon cameras, that allow you to shoot in aperture priority or shutter speed priority. That means that if you are intimidated by the concept of setting everything in manual, or you don't want to have to focus on that at the moment, you can just simply set the aperture or the shutter speed, depending on the mode of those, and then the camera will figure out the rest. For video, this is the other big downside along with the optical viewfinder: no 4K video. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is, this camera is from 2017, it's 2018 now. That said, the 1080p video looks fantastic, and it can shoot up to 1080p at 60 frames a second. You also get your 30 frames per second, 24 frames per second options, as well as options for PAL support. It's also important to mention that this camera has Canon's Digic 7 image processor in it, and just like a lot of other cameras from Canon, it gives you really great skin tones and just a really nice balance of color overall. Their color science, as they say, is very good. So the touchscreen is overall pretty good for focus, haven't had any issues there. Also the pairing with the Canon app, pretty straightforward, exactly what you'd think. Be able to see a live view, remote control of the camera, and also transfer photos to your phone. I think the lens on this camera is really impressive for its size and its price category. It has an aperture down to f1.8, and then it goes up to f2.8, but then in software it allows you to go up to f11. It has the equivalent of 24 to 100 millimeter zoom. That's 4.2x optical zoom. The camera also has optical image stabilization, which when you're zoomed in at that 100 millimeters really allows you to get to some still shots. But the place the stabilization really comes off the best is in video, and that is using not only the optical image stabilization, but there's also software image stabilization built in, and I tended to just prefer the standard mode. They also have a lower mode that gives you a little bit of stabilization, but more of a shakier feel, more of an action feel to the shots, and then a high stabilization mode that really smooths it out. Another great feature of this camera is the ring that runs around the lens. You can turn it and adjust either the aperture level or the focal length, depending on the settings you've configured or that are configured by the preset of your shooting mode. I tended to really prefer shooting with the smooth version. There's a little switch here that you can turn to choose whether you want it to click back and forth or whether you want it to be smooth. So I think the biggest reason why you'd want to go with a camera like the Powershot G7X Mark II is if you're looking for something that's smaller than an SLR, more affordable than an SLR, but definitely an upgrade from your smartphone for taking video or taking photos. And I think for that target market, this camera does a really good job. There's also a great deal that I'll link below from B&H that I bought with this that comes with a free memory card and a free extra battery along with the case. And it's the same price as if you just bought the camera. Personally, I'm really excited to be using this camera as well as I look to shoot more videos and developer vlogs and all kinds of other content for this channel. This is just going to make it that much easier. Thanks so much for watching this review. If you like this kind of content and you're interested in seeing more, I highly recommend subscribing. Also give this video a thumbs up. Also, you might like checking out some of my developer vlogs where I show the story behind building an iOS app and putting it on the App Store. If you have any comments or feedback, if you've already purchased the G7X Mark II and you have stories about it, things you like, things you don't like, love to start that conversation down in the comments below. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.